Every night, a dog named Rocky started growling at little Emily. Emily was only 6 months old, and her parents, Jason and Samantha Parker, couldn't understand why their loyal Labrador, usually so affectionate and calm, suddenly began behaving so strangely. Samantha first heard the quiet but tense growling that night when Emily was peacefully sleeping in her crib. The woman jumped out of bed, her heart pounding. Rocky sat by the crib, staring intently at the baby and letting out a low, warning growl. Frightened, Samantha led the dog out of the room, but the next night it happened again. Every night at about the same time, Rocky would start growling. The parents were confused and desperate. Was the dog sick? Or did he sense something they couldn't see? Samantha cried, wondering why her beloved Rocky, who had slept beside the baby since the day she was born, suddenly started behaving so strangely. They decided to set up a camera in the nursery, hoping to find an explanation. That night, when the growling started again, the parents froze in front of the screen, but they saw nothing suspicious. Rocky just sat there, staring at Emily and quietly growling. Desperate for answers, they took Rocky to the vet, but after an examination, he was found to be perfectly healthy. Then, they called a dog trainer who suggested that perhaps the dog sensed something, a gas leak or a noise beyond human hearing. Specialists were called in to thoroughly inspect the house, but everything was fine. Time passed, and the parents were on the verge of despair. Rocky woke them every night with his growling, and they began to consider the worst. Maybe they would have to part with the dog to ensure their baby's safety. But one night, everything changed. Samantha woke up to loud barking and growling. She rushed to the nursery. Rocky ran to her, grabbed her pajama pants with his teeth, and aggressively pulled her toward Emily's crib. Samantha immediately knew something was wrong with the baby. She bent over and saw that Emily wasn't breathing. She screamed, but at that moment, Rocky, who was sitting beside her, let out a loud growl and pushed the baby with his nose. Suddenly, Emily gasped for air and began to cry. The parents were stunned. The next day, doctors confirmed that Emily had a rare condition, sleep apnea, which caused her to stop breathing while sleeping. Rocky sensed it and used his growling to wake the baby, saving her life every night. The parents cried as they hugged Rocky. He wasn't just their dog. He was a guardian angel willing to do anything for their baby. After this incident, the Parker family's life changed. They became more attentive to Rocky and his behavior, understanding that his instincts could be more important than they thought. Jason and Samantha began researching the connection between dogs and children, learning more amazing stories about how animals help people. One day, when Emily was about a year old, the family went for a picnic in the local park. They spread a blanket under a large oak tree and enjoyed the warm summer day. Rocky, as usual, lay next to Emily, watching her closely. Suddenly, the dog jumped up and started barking, looking up at the tree. Jason and Samantha didn't understand what was happening, but Rocky wouldn't calm down. He grabbed the edge of the blanket with his teeth and started pulling it to the side, as if trying to move the whole family. Jason, remembering past experiences, decided to trust the dog's instincts. He quickly picked up Emily, and the whole family moved away from the tree. At that moment, there was a loud crack, and a huge branch fell right on the spot where they had just been sitting. Everyone was shocked. If it weren't for Rocky, they could have been seriously injured or even killed. This incident further strengthened the family's faith in their four-legged friend and his amazing abilities. The story of Rocky's heroic act quickly spread through their small town of Oakville. The local newspaper published an article about the hero dog, and soon the Parkers began receiving letters and calls from people across the country who were touched by their story. Among those who learned about Rocky was Dr. Elizabeth Green, an animal behavior specialist from the University of California. She contacted the Parker family and offered to conduct a study to better understand Rocky's abilities and possibly use this knowledge to help other children with sleep apnea. Jason and Samantha agreed to participate in the study. For several months, Dr. Green and her team observed Rocky, conducted various tests, and analyzed his behavior. They discovered that the dog possessed an extraordinarily acute sense of hearing and the ability to detect the slightest changes in Emily's breathing. The results of the study were published in a prestigious scientific journal and attracted the attention of the medical community. Doctors began to consider the possibility of using specially trained dogs to help children with sleep apnea and other similar conditions. Meanwhile, Emily grew, and her condition gradually improved thanks to treatment and constant monitoring. However, Rocky remained by her side, always ready to come to her aid. When Emily turned 3, the family decided to move to a more spacious house in the suburbs. They found a beautiful 2-story house with a large garden, perfect for the growing girl and her faithful friend. On moving day, as the movers were bringing in the last boxes, Rocky suddenly began to run anxiously around the house, barking and scratching the floor in one of the rooms on the 2nd floor. Jason, remembering past incidents, decided to check what was bothering the dog. After inspecting the room, he noticed nothing unusual, but Rocky continued to insist. Jason called Samantha, and together they began a more thorough examination. Suddenly, Samantha smelled a faint odor of smoke. They called the fire department, who discovered faulty wiring in the wall, ready to ignite at any moment. Thanks to Rocky, the Parker family once again avoided danger. This incident further strengthened their belief in their dog's amazing abilities and showed that Rocky not only saved Emily from apnea, but continued to protect the entire family. The news of how the dog prevented a possible fire again attracted media attention. This time, national television became interested in the story. A producer of a popular show about unusual animals contacted the Parker family and offered to make a documentary about Rocky and his amazing abilities. Jason and Samantha discussed this offer for a long time. On one hand, they wanted to share their story and possibly help other families facing similar problems. On the other hand, they were worried about how media attention might affect their lives and Emily. After much deliberation, they agreed to the filming, but on the condition that their private life would be maximally protected. The film crew spent several weeks with the Parker family, observing their daily life and interaction with Rocky. During the filming, another amazing incident occurred. Emily, who was now 4 years old, was playing in the garden under Samantha's supervision. Rocky, as usual, was nearby. Suddenly, the dog became alert and started barking, looking at the neighbor's fence. Samantha approached closer and saw a stranger climbing over the fence. She grabbed Emily and ran towards the house, shouting for Jason. Rocky stood between the family and the stranger, barking and growling loudly. It turned out to be a burglar who didn't know anyone was home. Frightened by the barking dog and screams, he quickly retreated. The police arrived a few minutes later and apprehended the criminal not far from the house. This incident was captured by the film crew and became the culmination of the documentary about Rocky. The film Guardian Angel on 4 Paws aired several months later and was a huge success. Millions of viewers were touched by the story of Rocky and the Parker family. After the film's release, Jason and Samantha received thousands of letters from people around the world. Many shared their own stories of how animals had saved their lives or helped in difficult situations. Some asked for advice on how to train their dogs to help children with special needs. Inspired by this response, Jason and Samantha decided to use their unexpected fame for good. They founded a charity called Helping Paws, aimed at training dogs to assist children with various conditions, including sleep apnea. The foundation worked in collaboration with Dr. Green and other specialists, developing programs for training dogs and matching them with families with special needs. Rocky became the mascot of the foundation and participated in demonstration sessions showing what trained dogs are capable of. Emily, who had started school by then, often accompanied her parents to foundation events. She told other children about how Rocky had saved her life and about what amazing friends dogs can be. Years passed, and Rocky grew old, but his devotion to the Parker family did not diminish. Even when he began to have health problems, he still tried to be near Emily, guarding her sleep. When Rocky was 14 years old, veterinarians discovered he had cancer. Jason and Samantha were devastated by the news, but decided to do everything possible to make his last days filled with love and care. Emily, who was 11 years old at the time, spent every free minute with Rocky. She read him books, told him about her school days, and just lay next to him, hugging her faithful friend. On a quiet autumn day, Rocky peacefully passed away, surrounded by the love of his family. Emily cried, burying her face in his soft fur, while Jason and Samantha hugged their daughter, sharing her grief. The news of Rocky's death spread quickly, and the family received thousands of condolences from people whose lives had been touched by the story of this amazing dog. Local authorities even offered to erect a monument to Rocky in the city park as a symbol of animal devotion and heroism. The Parker family decided to honor Rocky's memory by continuing the work of their Helping Paws Foundation. They expanded the program to include training dogs to assist the elderly and veterans. Emily, inspired by Rocky's example, decided to become a veterinarian. She dreamed of helping animals and continuing the work her parents had started. Years later, when Emily graduated from veterinary college, she returned to her hometown of Oakville and opened her own clinic. A large photograph of Rocky hung on the wall in the reception area, and a small monument in his honor stood in the garden behind the clinic. The story of Rocky and the Parker family became a legend passed down from generation to generation. It reminded people of how amazing creatures animals can be and how important it is to listen to their instincts. And although Rocky was no longer with them, his spirit continued to live in the hearts of not only the Parker family, but also thousands of people around the world whose lives were changed by his amazing story. Every time a dog saved a child from danger or helped a person in need, people remembered Rocky, an ordinary Labrador who became a true guardian angel. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your thoughts in the comments, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to not miss new releases. See you soon.